Welcome back to another part of this F1 25 My Team Career Mode. This is part number 22 today for the Austrian Grand Prix, but a little bit different, as you can clearly tell. But last time out at the Canadian Grand Prix, well, it was a historic day, a historic race for this team and for Jenson Button. As history repeated itself in changeable conditions, we won the Canadian Grand Prix driving as Jenson Button. It was car number 15 on his car for this series, and he has 15 wins, but now it is up to 16. Unbelievable stuff. Incredible race. A great victory, as Mattis says in the email. And, well, even though maybe it was a one-off, you know, a special moment where everything came together, we had the pace. It wasn't too wet. It was wet enough where actually we gained a bit of an advantage in the damp conditions, channeling our inner Jenson Button, because surprisingly, I was actually pulling away from Sainz initially as it started to rain, but then right at the end, it got very, very close. 1.2 seconds it ended with, but we got it over the line. We got that win, and we got it with Jenson Button. It's a weight off my shoulders. The business that I felt was unfinished in this series, in this season, I think we've ticked it off. I can now happily maybe look to the future without Button driving for this team and more in a, you know, advisory capacity. But right now in game we're celebrating the victory. We had a choice of podium or victory celebration. We've got to go for the victory celebration. How on earth are you just going for a podium celebration? It's got to be specifically for the victory. And of course that win really helped us out in the Constructors' Championship. I'm expecting Williams to come back at us for sure, but things like that, races like that, really help us just to maybe give us some sort of advantage that we can try and work with to keep ahead of Williams, because on paper and in reality they are the quicker car. They've been quicker at most of the races, but those one or two episodes like last time where the magic just, you know, turned on for us in the cockpit and we're able to pull it home from pole position to the race win. We continue to bring upgrades to the facility for the engineering as we're edging closer to phase 3, and we need phase 3 for the next set of upgrades. Saying that, though, there are one or two upgrades we can be making right now. There's some downforce upgrades, tyre wear, brakes as well, and a fuel upgrade. So it's not like we're completely stuck. It's just ideally I wanted to do some weight reduction, you know, some further drag reduction, but we can't. Brakes is one we can afford, because we can't actually afford the aero right now with 1,500. They cost quite a lot, the aero upgrades. The brake upgrades, they are affordable. I was a little bit hesitant, though. As you may remember from previous games I've spoken about this, I always feel like the brake upgrades on my team are kind of naff. They kind of almost make the car feel worse because the brake pressure is so high that it's, you know, just basically makes the car less enjoyable to drive and harder to drive under brakes. But the last two games, they've not been too bad. We've kind of, you know, just bit the bullet and done the brake upgrades in driver career in F1 24 and in F1 23 with my team. So I thought, look, let's just go for it. We'll go for one brake upgrade and we'll leave it at that for now. And as we try and continue this upward trajectory of upgrading, saying that though, McLaren and Ferrari upgrading at a quicker rate, especially McLaren, who are now a tiny bit ahead of Ferrari, which is kind of mad because we were mocking how bad McLaren were at the start of the season, and now they're better than Ferrari, the reigning champs, and Ferrari have won a race this season. So are McLaren now back in a region where if things go right for them, maybe they could be on for podiums for race wins. Who knows? Williams and Aston still there, and as of late we've seen Aston actually performing like they maybe should be on the R&D chart. Williams have already been there, but they've also started to have a little bit of a wobbly time here and there. They've been out the points, or, you know, only one car scoring. Kind of the same with us, you know. It's getting to that mid part of the season where the races are coming thick and fast, and it's only natural there is a little bit of luck of the draw, maybe just a little bit of form, and, you know, things out of our control, you know, like the weather or just, you know, the preparation into race weekends. But hopefully, well, I'm gonna need the preparation into this race weekend to be tip top as we swap over to drive as Tramnitz, leaving Button as 99 focus after that race win. But for the first time ever in this series and on this game, I'm actually doing practice because I need practice, because we've come to the Austrian Grand Prix, but it's not the normal Austrian Grand Prix. Because as you would have seen at the start of Season 2, you know, when we introduced the calendar for this one, we have got a reverse track for the very first time in a My Team career series. It's Austria reverse, and, well, it's clearly got my brain in a reverse situation here, as we're going to have to back out of this now. We can't be doing that consistently in the race, let alone like qualifying coming up. Basically, that's why I wanted to do practice for the first time in age. Usually I just do the practice programs, of course, for the R&D, like the little mini games, basically, because I always just think it's always better just to go in a little bit cold into career mode series and have a bit of fun kind of getting up to speed as you do the qualifying laps, basically. But I wanted to do practice, just a quick lap here for Austria reverse, one just for you guys to kind of see the first lap of it with this Aarava Archer Racing car, and then also I just needed to get some sort of sighter in of what this lap looks like before we go into qualifying, because this is going to be otherwise quite painful.
High up in the mountains here at Spielberg, it's time for qualifying on what will be the fastest laps of the season. Stand by for qualifying at the Austrian Grand Prix.
A first qualifying session ever at Austria reverse. This is going to be quite something. I don't know if, you know, being a reverse will do anything to the pecking order. Will it suit certain cars? Because, you know, with the reverse track on F125, as we spoke about on the lead up to the launch of the game, you know, it's not just a case of we're driving backwards. Everything is swapped over. So there is unique, you know, racing lines, tyre wear, therefore the way the tyres degrade is changing because you're driving the other way. There are now more left-handers than right-handers here at the Red Bull Ring. There's even some forecast maybe of some rain over this race weekend. That's also simulated a bit differently with the way, you know, the water will maybe collect with the cars driving around, with the racing line, the drying line, etc. So it's going to be a big stab into the unknown. It's like getting a new track, essentially, because it certainly feels like that. And I must say, Austria reverse, really awesome to drive, really satisfying to drive. I wasn't actually a fan of it compared to the other two in terms of, out of the three, I preferred Silverstone, Zandvoort, and then Austria. I just didn't think it had that much going on for it versus Silverstone and Zandvoort, but on reflection, having now driven it with a My Team car that's a bit more upgraded, a bit more downforce on it to be able to chuck it around, all three of them are going to be fun, and this one certainly is in My Team, because it's just about hooking it up in a completely different way. Like, there are now certain corners where, you know, if this was the normal way round, you know, like this corner, very, very difficult, you know, on the entry. Now it's more difficult on the exit. And then you've got Sector 3, which is so fast and flowing as it is the right way around, but now for different reasons, as you're really getting the power down for most of the lap. As we come through the final corner now, is it to the line, and we make a 7/10 improvement to get up into the top 10. We're going to need a bit more as we're pushed down to P10. Button's gone quicker as we gain about 2/10 to book in our Q2 showing, and there's some good pace there on show from myself and Button, P8 and P9. Albon showing Williams looking pretty good, but he's got a penalty. Albon has some sort of penalty. Ocon's high up in P4, whereas Antonelli is down in P21. So real big swings for Haas from 21st to in the top 5 of that qualifying session as we go into Q2. And it's very doom and gloom. It's actually raining right now, and we've been caught out. We haven't gone early enough. It wasn't really clear how wet it was out there because the icons in the garage on the screens weren't really suggesting it was fully raining yet. It was saying 5 minutes, so I think it was a little bit glitched out with the understanding. So I didn't go out initially because we only had one set of softs after Q1 burning 2 sets. And it won't matter in the end that we only had one. We're going to use the one and only, but it's a very damn track. It still felt like a pretty good lap. Like I was very happy with that lap, but it's only enough for P15 because it is that slow out there. It is that wet out there. and that is going to be the end of our qualifying. That's a little bit of a shame because I was really enjoying getting in the groove, getting quicker and quicker with that. And oh, look at the pace button showing. P2. Are you kidding me? It looks like we have a lot of pace around here then. At least in the hands of Button, and I was hoping to match that. You'd hope I can match that, but no. We're out in Q2, down in P15. It's down to Button to see what he can do. In the top 10, Ocon did make it through, so that's really great for him versus his teammate. One Ferrari's through only as Hamilton suffers Q2 knockout. Both Williams, one Aston Martin, both Mercedes, and the two Red Bulls. So there's certainly going to be a good fight, I think, between all those different teams. And it's going to be really, really hard to call, I think, especially if it's raining still. But we won't know until we go to the grid then. Let's go to Sunday for our first Austria reverse.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. Not long to go before our drivers hurtle off the line and into the first turn, the Niki Lauda curve. It was renamed in 2019 in memory of one of Formula One's most beloved figures. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position. And a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri and Leclerc, Colapinto, Button, Albon and Esteban Ocon, Lawson, Hamilton, Paul Aron and Stroll, Tremnitz, Hadja, Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly, Doohan, Hulkenberg, Bortoletto and Andrea Kimi Antonelli rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And alongside me in the commentary box today, a man who I always look up to, which is easier said than done, Anthony Davidson. Now, I'll be generous here. It's not that long ago that you were racing and entertaining us on a Sunday. But in the years since, the sport has changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has, Crofty. You know, the cars have got bigger, they're heavier, but critically, there's more downforce to play with as well now. There was about 4 tons of downforce on the car at 300 kilometers an hour when I drove. You're now looking more towards 5 tons of downforce. So there's a big difference in performance. But because of that, the car being heavier and bigger, you've got to drive in a smoother way. You've got to look after it a bit more. You've got to nurse it through the slow speed corners more. They were much more nimble, agile machines when I drove in Formula 1 compared to now.
Really don't know how this is going to go in terms of the race strategy. Apparently it might be a one-stop from medium to hards, but with the other way around, is the tyre wear going to change slightly? It might do in the favour of it. It actually might be a one-stop, you know, with it projected to be, and obviously the tyre upgrades we've all been doing are helping that situation. But first and foremost, I'm just thinking about how we're going to get up a couple of positions here, because this is turn 1 then. That's going to be just as difficult as the old original turn 1 the right way round. It's still tight. It's a little bit quicker though, so that might help us a bit, but we've got a few positions to traverse to get up into the top 10 and try and join Button. It is Mercedes at the front, looking very, very strong, I must say. So it's going to be a tough one for other teams to maybe come and beat them as they're locking out the front row as we go to 5 red lights to Austria in reverse for the very first time in a My Team career series. It's a good getaway for us versus Hadjar, the same for Stroll. We've both gone either side of him into turn 1, trying to get the pass on Stroll. Do we dare commit? It's flat out usually through that left-hander in qualifying, but in race trim with a higher fuel and just cars on the inside, you have to lift off, and we're gonna have to be very careful into some of those trickier brake zones coming up on the heavier fuel. We already had problems in practice in qualifying, maybe not going as nicely as possible through those corners, but with heavier fuel we have to be very, very careful, and we are going to be careful. We're actually going to be great through that left-hander, How much does a couple of, more laps make difference there? We've gone from going straight off into the gravel to now making a lovely move down the inside on full fuel to get up into P13 versus Stroll. It's so odd, though, seeing a whole grid of cars coming through that corner the other way. Now downhill for the last part of this sector. It feels so damn quick into this left-hander now, the final corner, and trying to keep up with Hamilton. Is it side by side behind for Aaron and Stroll? I think that is, and Aaron is actually overtaken the McLaren. He's going to come back at him, though, and so is Gasly. Pierre Gasly around the outside of both cars. Incredible. It was 3 wide into that first turn, and Gasly on the outside braved it and is up into P14. Incredible stuff there as Aaron now, after fighting hard, is out early of this race. But that's quite promising then for the Austria reverse, already seeing a 3 wide. It wasn't even the end of lap 1 technically, as we now try and go around the outside of Hamilton, who is struggling around this layout, and it's side by side for many cars. Russell on Piastri, Colapinto and Tsunoda banging tyres, and a bit of carbon fibre maybe offers through that one. Tsunoda basically drifted around the outside of Colapinto here, so the AI being very aggressive, I must say. Something tells me that there may be a few little bumps here and there, and there's going to be action all the way through this one, apart from maybe the lead, because Sainz is a whopping nearly 2.5 seconds already into the lead. So Carlos is absolutely cooking right now, and that's the opposite of what we're doing on lap 3 is... well, that was it's our first mistake of the race day. It was going to happen at one of these corners where we just misjudged it there, and we just had to take avoiding action on Lawson. As further up the road, Piastri and Russell continue to battle. Piastri back ahead in P3. Russell going for the pass again, and he is going to get it. Is he? No, Piastri back around the outside. The two of them now will race up the hill, and Piastri has got that one. Mighty impressive. I thought Russell booked in that overtake, but Piastri on the outside, and it seems like a lot of the AI are very brave around the outside, I must say. But yeah, so clearly off the 5 red lights, Russell didn't get the best start. Now he's relegated to fighting Piastri, the championship leader, for 3rd place, and that's allowing Sainz and Verstappen to get away. Is it a copycat move this time, though? Russell keeps his foot in, he's got his nose in, and he's ahead. There's contact, major contact, and that's Oscar Piastri with half his front wing off. And for the debris on the track, the virtual safety car is called out. But that is a horrendous situation for Oscar Piastri. Like I said, championship leader. Now with major front wing damage, he's going to have to come in. It's far too early in the race. It was going to be deja vu for Piastri, a great round the outside move, but this time Russell learned and was more aggressive on the inside, but that was to Piastri's detriment, because then Piastri basically just drove into Russell as they were kind of locking in with his front left tyre. Not really Russell's fault, it's just a racing incident. It's unfortunate. It's just a slight misjudgment on the kind of closing speed through that corner, I think you'll agree. So that's just really not great for Piastri's weekend. That's opened up the door, though, for Leclerc, for the man he was racing, Russell, because they were chasing him down. The championship, of course, is on the restart of the virtual safety car. We have made 2 overtakes. We got Lawson as the virtual safety car ended, because my delta time was surprisingly small, because I wasn't that close to Lawson, I felt, on the start of the virtual safety car, but I'll take it. And then we just caught Ocon napping as into the final corner. There are some great moves happening. Gasly has just done Hamilton, as there is Piastri in the pits. That is painful. It's so early on for a pit stop, and with a 1 stop projected, that means, well, either he's going to have to take those hards very, very long, or he's on for a 2 stop, which I guess he might be able to recover with the Red Bull's pace, but it's obviously not ideal. What is ideal right now is Button running in P6 at the moment quietly, and we are closing up. We're P9 behind Leclerc. Albon might go for the outside move. He has done. He's really tightened up Button's line on the inside, compromised JB's line through there, and that slowed them both up and backed them into Leclerc, backed them into us, as we're going to take the opportunity to catch Leclerc unawares on the outside. We're up into P8 now, thanks to Albon, basically, but he's overtaken Button, so that's not too great. Both Williams running ahead of us, because Tsunoda's just quietly been in P4 the entire time. Colapinto in no man's land as well in P5, actually quite close to Tsunoda. But yeah, now Albon's ahead, so both Williams outscoring us at the moment, but it's so early days in this race as we're fighting Leclerc now. He comes back at us with DRS, gives us a bit of a squeeze into the left-hander as we drop down the hill now in the normal Sector 1, now Sector 3, as we try and keep this going with Leclerc. We're now the ones with DRS. Surely we have the chance to pass into the final corner. Yes, we do. Leclerc actually backs out of that, and we're going to have a bit of breathing room now to settle down for P8 as Button ahead of us tries to make that pass on Albon. Doesn't quite work out, I don't think, but what does work there is Lawson ahead of Ocon, then Hamilton. Gasly is actually fallen away, and then we see Hadjar holding up Lando Norris. It's a bad day in the office for McLaren, it would seem, but not as bad as this man, Piastri, having to recover. He is literally nowhere, having made that very, very early stop, and he's miles away from the race leader, Sainz, who is dominating this race, you must say. 6 seconds ahead he is, as on lap 12 now. Leclerc coming at us at a rate of knots. He's dived down the inside of this uphill left-hander. Very unorthodox place to make the dive, but he kind of just caught us. I just didn't think an AI would ever try down the inside, to be honest. The racing line edges you to the right before you turn in, but Leclerc just saw the door open and went for it, and now we're jockeying for position down the hill. DRS open, but the Ferrari is pretty damn great in a straight line, it would seem, as we give Leclerc the squeeze. We get back up into P8, but he's all over the back of us, sniffing around, almost try to maybe make a move into the final corner. He definitely will make a move into the first corner now, because he's got DRS back. It's the problem around Austria. You make one repass and then they come back at you straight away, as now we're still fighting up the hill. Easy does it, as we have to lift off there just to make sure we didn't drive straight into the wall, because that corner, it invites you so much just to absolutely floor it, but then the wall on the right closes and is a lot closer than you think, so you have to be very, very careful, as we were also with a car on the inside. And this time we're going to block the inside line, you can see, as we learnt from our mistakes. But the fighting will continue into the final corner. Leclerc on the outside. This is becoming a bit of an iconic scrap with Charles, and now Lawson is trying to get involved. It's 3 wide momentarily. We're on the inside, and we've passed the Ferrari, and we've also allowed Lawson to come in. Oh my God, what on earth was that? Heart and mouth stuff. The rear right tyre is absolutely on fire now as the tyre icon comes on. I'm not surprised, because that was an issue and now this is an issue. What is going on? The tyres have gone completely off the cliff. The tyre temp's in the bin, and maybe this stint is in the bin. My word, both times we've caught it well, but that was, I mean, that one was so... the fact that I stopped that going into the wall is incredible, if I do say so myself, because that could have easily been a DNF right there. And then this next one was just annoying and a little bit silly. I just don't know how the car was so reactive to any throttle, and we just had to go over the grass, and the easiest route was just cutting across and doing a little bit of lawn mowing for the Styrian people around this area, as we're now definitely coming in, because it may be a projected one stop, but clearly this car is on a knife edge with that one stop, because I've had to come in early, about 2 laps earlier than was scheduled, because, yeah, well, clearly just time for us to come in. There's nothing else to say. It wasn't like I made like a mistake or anything. Maybe we upset the car a little bit on the entry on that first spin, but I honestly think it was the tyres just crying out basically, and they'd had enough. So now we're on to a set of hards. I'm hoping we can get an undercut going basically if there's that much tyre wear around this track in reverse, and we can try and jump back some positions, and jump back we will on Lawson, but we won't quite get Leclerc. But, you know, in reality, we were so many seconds behind these guys after the second spin. The fact that I'm back this close to Leclerc is wonderful. So that undercut's worked, an absolute treat, and it might work a treat for Leclerc on Button, who's coming out the pits now. Leclerc's there, and we're following. This is going to be close. Leclerc is going to get blocked by Button. So in the end of it, JB may just help us out here. Good team play as he blocks the Ferrari, gives him a bit of dirty air, and we're trying to get this pass done, but the Ferrari is so hell-bent on keeping the position. It's been an incredible fight with the Ferrari this race, and you know, you saw on the R&D chart, we're the closest two teams together on the R&D chart. So this is a legitimate fight with the reigning Constructors Champions, because they're not doing so great right now in the R&D arms race, and they're relegated to fighting us, the little minnow team that just got an incredible win last episode and is now trying to continue the fine scoring points form. But we tried to give Leclerc the squeeze there, but he is getting more and more aggressive and punchy with his moves to make sure he stays ahead. He's probably getting very annoyed at this stage of the race as we go on the outside of the prancing horse, and I'm really hoping we can now try and pull away. If we can just break, we're only 2/10 away momentarily there from breaking 1 second. Maybe Button can help us. Meanwhile, lap 20, a man who's definitely broken DRS behind him is Carlos Sainz, dominating this Austrian reverse Grand Prix, 7 seconds ahead of his own teammate, who's now in second place. So Russell's done incredibly well to catch back up to Verstappen, because he was nowhere near the Red Bull. It's now a 1-2 for Merck, but for how much longer? Because Verstappen wants the second place back. He was in second for most of the first stint. Russell's done really well, but he's just lost it again. Can he come back at him though? These two fireworks going off in real life between those two. In the game here now, they're swapping positions left and right. Russell back into second, and I suspect Verstappen will try the repass again with DRS available. He goes to the left, he commits to the inside, but Russell just parks it enough where it's a little bit awkward. If he made that dive fully, could have been a bit of contact. So Russell playing a good game to try and get this 1-2 for Mercedes as lap 22 behind. There's a pit stop there. Is it one of the Ferraris? Leclerc's in. Leclerc's in. Hamilton continues on. Are they bailing onto a two-stop? Have Ferrari fluffed it? Have they not thought ahead about the tyre wear on their car? Whereas Piastri committed early to the two-stop, remember? He's made his second stop, and he's up now into P11, having overtaken Pierre Gasly. So Piastri, the championship leader, driving like a champion today in, you know, races where things haven't gone his way. He's just getting his head down and trying to maximise the damage limitation today as he gets back into the championship points and will go on to chase after Hamilton. Maybe this is why Ferrari are pulling Leclerc in, because Piastri on a two-stop has just overtaken Hamilton on the one. And Leclerc was only just up the road from Hamilton. So, yeah, maybe the Ferrari just thinking maybe we should think a bit more like the man leading the championship, as we are just in no man's land, you know, 3 seconds away from Button, who has had me in his back pocket for race pace, to be honest, because of that tyre wear we're facing. And now Piastri is closing up, 6 laps to go. I think at this stage, the game plan is to try and defend Piastri if we can, because if I can hold him up just a little bit so he doesn't go and overtake Button, you know, getting P7 and 9 is better than not fighting Piastri now and then getting a P8 and 9 as a team. So I've got to try and fight Piastri as much as I can. Usually I maybe wouldn't, but because we're now 6 laps to go and we're in a decent double points position, that's the task we've got, is trying to hold up Piastri, much to his annoyance, for his own championship fight as he tries the outside, but we cover off the inside, and for now we live to fight for another day in P8. But Piastri is relentless. In every DRS zone, he's there. Hamilton's actually closing up because we're losing so much time to each other. Piastri on the outside. We're going to try and get the elbow out there, but we actually went neutral momentarily by mistake, so that kind of slowed me up a little bit. And now Hamilton might join the party as we come back at the Australian with DRS, thankfully. But you get the sense at some point Piastri's going to make this move and make it stick. But I think, honestly, looking at the gap to Button, maybe we've done enough now. Maybe we can let Piastri go and he won't be able to catch up to Button now with the laps available as we still try to fight him. But at that point, he had advantage. And oh, safety car, late safety car. Colapinto is out ahead of us. Oh, there's a monumental crash at the final corner. 3 cars are out. And that includes Albon as well. 2 free positions for everyone now. That has completely changed this race because Button's now up into P5. And the fighting we were doing versus Piastri, well, now it kind of doesn't matter. Now I kind of wish we didn't. Maybe we put up more of a fight into that final left-hander before the safety car came out. Oh, big spin for the Williams. So it looks like someone else was facing some pretty high tyre wear, so I'm not the only one who's had a random spin. And then it's a bit of a farcical crash with the Audi. The Aston I can understand because he was coming in hot, but the Audi has not done himself service there. But it's just a spin into the final corner because of tyre wear, and then Colapinto was just far too close to react. But the Audi, that was a little bit poor from him. Hulkenberg should have more experience there to avoid such a collision. So the safety car is out now. 2 people out as we... Oh my God. The tyre wear you can see on the bottom right on the heads-up display is a problem for us. In a way, the safety car is actually going to be a good thing. Less laps to worry about how this car might handle with very worn hard tyres. Austria reverse has been an absolute tyre muncher for us. But, well, I think we're only going to get maybe 2 laps, I reckon, of the safety car, because surely it goes for another lap for us to catch up, and then it's in for lap 35 and 36. So it's going to be a 2-lap sprint at the end. So I think we can... Oh, what?
Safety car in this lap. Safety car in this lap. Let's make sure those tyres are up.
We're nowhere near. We're nowhere near anyone. And now we're being slowed up. Piastri's slow. And what's happening? I've just overtaken Piastri there because he was so slow. And I've not got any message about that being illegal, even though it should be. Sainz is all the way here in the last sector. The safety car, Bert Mylander's driving in. He's driven off. The safety car's actually coming in. And look at the time gap from Tsunoda to Button. The FIA not wanting to let the cars catch up because there's not enough laps as we go off with this tyre wear really causing us problems. But to be honest, I wanted to go a bit wide because I've let Piastri back through because I realised that was an illegal overtake. We shouldn't have been able to do that. So gentleman's, behaviour there. We've let Piastri back through. We're now gone green as you can see the tyre wear is really causing me problems. So I'm very, very thankful there's only actually 2 laps to go in this race just to limp home for P7. Maybe try and see if we can do anything on Piastri, who also might be struggling. But you know what? This safety car has been a positive for this fight. Look at this. They're absolutely flinging it through these corners. The 2 silver arrows running 1-2, but you get the sense that Russell wants more. Russell wants the race win. He was so far off Sainz. Sainz was dominating this entire race, but the safety car has brought it all back up with only half a lap to go as we also try and close up to someone to make a last lap overtake. Russell is doing just that into the final sector. There'll be one last chance down the hill. It's a very, very quick section, and Russell has DRS activated on the last lap. I think he's actually going to go for it. This is unbelievable. Into the final corner, there is a race lead swap, and Russell is going to steal the win away from Carlos Sainz. It is a 1-2, an emphatic 1-2 for Mercedes at the home of Red Bull. But oh my God, that is absolute pain for Carlos Sainz. He was dominating the whole race, and on the last lap, last corner, Russell has taken the win away from him. That is ice cold from George Russell. You saw there, I tried to get Piastri, but I didn't have the pace, I didn't have the tyre wear, but it's still a bloody great race finish. P5 for Button, P7 for us as Tramnits. That is an excellent, solid double points race finish for us. But wow, what a mad last corner.
And the best of British and the best on the track. It's George Russell who wins.
I mean, it looked like they were in a different category at points during the race, led every lap. I mean, what more can we say?
If George Russell goes on to win this championship in Season 2, it's moments like that will mean that he deserves it. That was ice cold from him. The composure, the relentlessness of being so far back, and then the one moment given to him where he can maybe actually get the win, and he executes. He gets it. Insane. Commiserations to Sainz, though. If that was me, I'd be absolutely like clinical depression at that point. For us, as though, as a team, it's a great day. We're still ahead of Williams by, 20 points rounded up. Obviously, Albon's spin helped us, no doubt. So again, a bit of luck. You know, we've actually had quite a bit of luck in Season 2. And to be fair, we kind of almost deserve it, because I spoke about this at the end of Season 1. We didn't get any luck in Season 1. So I think finally we're getting a bit of the rub of the green for some of these results, as we're nearing fan rating 5 now, which will be great for more sponsor slots and also just more income. But guys, if you have enjoyed that first ever reverse race in my team career, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.